Well, good evening and welcome to About the Valley. And you can see by our logo, this is our guest for tonight, Leslie Reichert. And Leslie works with the homeless within the valley.
Mhm.
We're not talking just Norfolk, but we're in the valley. But it's amazing. You don't see them in a lot of cases. You don't even know they're around. But there's a lot of them around, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, and that was the thing that happened. The reason we started 8 years ago was that I had heard a rumor that there was a homeless lady that was living in the gazebo, actually, in the community center.
Yeah,
And I
that's
was like, oh, that can't be true,
and what a plan. That's wide open.
So I was at a football game with my son down at LaSalle Field, and was really praying for them to lose because it was so cold. I'm just,
Yeah.
please don't tell Coach Lush I
I've
said
been to
that.
those games. It's freezing.
But it was so cold, and so finally they won, thank goodness. And then I just ran to my car, started it up, and it was, how cold your car can get,
Oh,
after
yes.
like an hour. But so I'm trying to wait for it to warm up a little bit, and I'm complaining all the way down Linwood, just complaining, and got to Hill Street, and I started going up Hill Street, and the heat started coming on, and I'm like, thank goodness. And just out of the corner of my eye, I ended up looking over at the gazebo, and I could see the outline of a woman. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's really there. There's really somebody. I'm complaining about how cold I am in my car.
Can you imagine what it's like for her?
That's exactly what I said. I can't imagine.
And
she's
that's a
going
cement floor. Oh,
Yeah.
God, that's, you lay down on that floor, oh my God, I just can't picture it.
So I kept going up Hill Street, and thinking, well, I wonder what you could do for somebody like that. Like, just in general, like, what could you
Yep.
do? And I did have this moment where, so God doesn't really talk to me. He talks to other people around me, and then he hits me in the head with a fry pan. That's what I say. But I was going up Hill Street, and I was having this argument with him, like, I can't do it. This is beyond me. Like, it's not what I went to school for. I'm not a social worker. And I don't really have the time. I'm running a business. I have kids. No,
Yes.
so I was trying to talk him out of it. So by the time I got to my driveway, I had lost. And I said, all right, I'll just take the next step. Hoping that the next step was a no, you can't do anything. So I said, I did what I could do, but I'm done. So anyway, the next morning I called Jeannie down at the Board of Health. She was a friend of mine. And I said, Jeannie, just out of the blue, what would it take to open up some way to use the churches to make a shelter for a homeless person? And she goes, it's so crazy you're calling me today. I just opened the mail and I just got a letter from how to open up an emergency shelter.
Wow. This
Yeah.
is almost a divine intervention here.
That's what I said. I get fry pants. Boom. Okay.
Yeah.
So she said it's not that hard. We just come down and do an inspection. And that license originally, it's a temporary emergency license that the same thing would happen if the Red Cross came in for a flood. They open up a temporary
Yes.
emergency shelter. They can do whatever they need to do. And at that time, 8 years ago, it was 32 nights you could be open, and you couldn't be open more than 7 consecutive nights in a row. So, again, I thought, well, gosh, 32 nights, what's that going to be? Like, you have to pick and choose how bad the weather has to be,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's a lot more than 32 nights in the winter.
So, and I had gone to my original church, and, we passed it as a church, and we applied for the license, and we got ours. And then I thought, well, 32 nights is not going to be enough. So then I was talking to Fred Beauregard, who was a friend of mine, and I said, wonder if St. Pat's would consider that. And he's like, well, let me just go to Father Tomas. So, I love that guy. He doesn't say no to anything. And so they got their temporary license. Then we went over to Pleasant Street, and Pleasant Street got a license. And then we went over to Fairlawn, and they got a temporary license. So we had 4
wow.
churches, each with 32 nights. And then in the midst of all that, they increased the nights to 52. So at that point, we had 200 nights.
So you could move around.
And that's what we did. Every church tried to take a night. The Presbyterian Church took weekends and then one Wednesday night. So they took 3 nights. And the other churches, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday,
And it wasn't so much to have a cot or anything. It was a warm place. It's basically what you needed.
Yeah, and at that time we had Woonsocket Glass donated all of the cots.
Oh, wow.
So we had cots immediately. Beaumont Nursing Home did a pillow and blanket drive, so that was all taken care of. Everything was, like you said, kind of divine intervention.
This
And
is
then
amazing. A lot of people don't realize how much help you got.
and the biggest thing was, like, there was one night at St. Pat's where we had 12 people. People don't believe that, but it's like, no, there were 12 people. There was a mom with 2 kids. There were guys that have been living out
And
in
we're
the cold.
talking basically Northbridge, you're not.
Yes, that was just Northbridge at
Yeah.
that time, yep.
And the other towns have the same situation.
Yep, yep. And we were just, we were small, thinking small, just trying to take care of our own, right?
Right.
And there were, we knew there were always encampments. There have always been encampments in town for homeless people.
Yes.
And trying to get the word out to them, and through the library and other places in town, that are very supportive of people that are in a bad place. So that was the first season we did that, and we did that for a few years, and then we hit COVID.
Yes, I know. Now you got a big problem.
At that point, we had a big problem because nobody really knew how to protect the people that were volunteering,
Right.
the guests that were coming. How do you keep it from spreading? And
How do you even check them?
well, and at that point, none of the churches were open. They all closed down, so they
Yeah.
weren't going to let us run a shelter in the basement when they weren't even having worship service upstairs.
Yeah, they weren't even allowed to have church service, and you can open up a shelter, and there's no way you could do that.
And there were things they were talking. We never really pursued it very much because the money was too much. Like, for example, when we went to St. Pat's, there were certain requirements from the building inspector that had to be done. So they had to have, like, all their carbon monoxide sensors hardwired.
Oh,
So that was a pretty big bill that we had to
Yeah.
pay, and different things in each church had different things that the building inspector had said they had to do. So taking on that COVID expense on top of everything else,
oh my God, yeah.
plexiglass dividers between people and
Yes.
testing, and it just was, So we went back, though. We didn't give up, and
You
at
went
that-
2 years with that situation.
we
then.
did, yeah, yeah. But what we did was we ended up going up to the Red Roof Inn in Sutton,
Oh,
and we asked the guy who's the manager there, and he, as bad as they get a bad rap up there, there's a lot going on, but the manager that manages that is a really sweet guy and has been very supportive of us. And he does whatever he can to make it work for us, and he did then too. So we were able to, like, rent a room at a fairly decent price.
right, it gave you a good discount.
And it was really sweet because people that, had been out in this cold actually got a bed.
Yeah, you got an actual bed.
A bed and a shower.
Yeah.
They could do their laundry. I mean, so going to the Red Roof Inn, even though it was a little more expensive, it wasn't just a cot in the basement of a church. It was a room.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, we had this one girl, she'd been living out in the woods in Uxbridge, and had been doing that for months, and never really asked for anything more. Just like we would, do whatever we could to help her. But it got to be Christmas Eve, and I said to her, I'm not going to let you spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day in the woods. I said, you're going to go to the Red Roof Inn. And she was like, okay. So she spent Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day in the Red Roof Inn.
Oh,
And I called her after she got home after the Red Roof Inn, because they all have cell phones. And I said, are you good? How was it? And she goes, I think I took like 12 bubble baths. She said I would get in the tub, I'd sit in the warm water, I'd scrub up, and then I'd get into bed and be all warm, and then I'd get back in the shower, because it was just something that she hadn't had.
Just that thrill of being able to take a bath.
Yeah. It's little
A
things
warm
that,
bath.
yeah, we take it for granted, but
Yeah.
I want to tell people that they're not all drug addicts. They're not all crazies. We have people that just have been evicted and really didn't expect to be evicted, and
Well,
have nowhere to go.
A lot of people are just one paycheck away from being homeless.
Yeah, yeah,
You lose your job, you don't collect that much, and you can't pay your rent.
yeah. Or you've had a medical instance, like,
But
just
yeah,
thank goodness
medical-
I have great insurance, but I have a really high deductible.
Yeah.
You have a $4,000 or $5,000 deductible for a
Yeah.
catastrophe, you can't pay that off.
Right.
So it's just, we're all like one accident away from being homeless when you think about it.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
And rents are very high right now.
very high,
I
yeah.
mean, housing is high, but rents are going right behind it.
Well, think about the fact that, so a rent could be $2,000 for a 1 or 2 bedroom house,
I
right?
know.
But then you have to have your first and last.
Yes, yeah.
So
you
it's
gotta
not
come up with-
2,000, it's 6,000.
Yeah, you gotta come up with a big amount of money just to get in the door.
Right, right. So we haven't gotten to the point where we're able to support people to that process yet. We've got, so this year we used the Red Roof Inn up until January 1st of this year, 2025. And I had 2 guys that were working with me, and they're the sweetest men, and they really felt called to open up one of the churches again. They just had this thing at the end of last year, we're going to do this. And I said, we've done it before, it's a lot of work, I'll do whatever I can. I said, I really can't do it at this point the way I did it back when we used to do it, because it's much bigger and more work. And they said, nope, we're going to take it on. So we went to Father Tomas first at the Catholic Church and said, what do you think? Like, are there any nights that you would be willing? And he said, you know what? If you open up at 9 o'clock at night and you have everybody here and then they are out by 7 o'clock, he said, you can use it every night of the week.
Wow.
So St. Pat's, like, again, open
Yeah.
door, we went right through it. They're there. If it needs to be open, it could be open at St. Pat's, which really gave everybody some stability.
Yes.
The people who were using it, the people who are volunteering, they know the place and they don't have to get to know each church and how everybody does everything a little different, so.
Yeah, and like I said, people don't realize how many cases these are families.
Yes, yes. We have families, we've had a family of 4 that have been in the shelter just this season. We had the sweetest man, he was staying up in one of the shelters in Worcester, and he just didn't feel comfortable up there. So he came down to our shelter. He drove down, he had a car, drove down. And the first night he was there, he came back and said in the morning, he goes, that's the first night's sleep I've had in months.
Because some of the shelters, especially in the city, they worry about crime.
Oh, that's what he said. He said, I never slept when I was in the shelter. I got warm, but I never slept because I was too afraid. And he said, I never felt such peace as I did at your shelter. So, and then a week later, he actually got a place. Something happened with the veterans and whatever it was, but everything fell into place and he was able to get a place. So now he's on his way.
There are people working to try to help out, but it's just so many they have to take care of.
Oh, there was a gentleman that was working at Walmart and living out of his car in the Walmart parking lot. But he couldn't afford anything more. He's only making minimum wage.
Yeah.
$15 an hour.
Yeah, how do you, like you say, how do you come up with your deposit? There's no way.
And again, when you're trying to live day to day, you're
Right.
not thinking about putting stuff away for saving for that. We really should, it's probably one of the things I should get my daughter, who's a financial guru, to come in and teach people about, okay, you should have 3 pots, one to spend, one to save for short term, one to save for long term, right?
Right.
And, but I don't think when you're in a bad position, you
Well,
really
you
can.
gotta make enough money too, just to survive on it. And when you make minimum wage, you gotta buy food, you gotta pay, rent, heat, electricity. There's just no money left.
Yeah, and minimum wage, I always think of that as something that, that's enough for a high schooler to do for a
Right.
part-time job. And that's kind of what they end up doing, is they all run in McDonald's and, places like that pay minimum wage.
Right.
But, that's what we need to do, is kind of help these people find better jobs,
Yes.
something that they can do. And it doesn't have to be a Walmart greeter type of thing. There's manufacturing and other things that they can do.
Right. But there again, you gotta find a way of getting them together with the employer.
Yep. And again, they're thinking short term. They're thinking about, what am I gonna eat for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
What are we doing next? So.
Now, in your case, also, you need workers, right? Volunteers.
Yeah.
Because you have to have someone has to be in these shelters
Yep.
Oh, they're open, right?
Yep, we have 2 shifts, so when you come to the shelter, we open at 8:30, the guests can start coming at 9. And then, they work a shift until 2 o'clock in the morning, and then the second shift goes from 2 to 7.
Right.
So it's 2 people per shift, 2 shifts, so we need 4 people a night to open.
Wow, that's gonna be tough to find people to do that.
Well, and I tell you, that's what I mean about Northbridge and the whole Blackstone Valley. They have really embraced us. When I did it 8 years ago, when we first started doing it, we had people that signed up and were very, very faithful. But in 8 years, things changed, right? The people that were doing it 8 years ago have gotten 8 years older.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get up at 2 in the morning to go, run a shelter. So, but really, the whole community's come together and really been supportive. So I think right now they might have 60 some odd volunteers that are actively working, which is great.
I would hate the second shift.
We all hate the second shift. It's okay.
Yeah, because when I was in the military, I had guard duty. I hated the fact that I had to get up. Yeah, you can sleep until 2, yeah, but then you gotta get up and go out. No way. Once I'm in bed, I like to stay there.
Well, when we first started, we had 3 shifts. It was 7 to 11, 11 to 3, and then 3 to 7.
Yeah.
And I could do the first 2 shifts, no problem. But if I had to be there at 3 o'clock, I could not go to sleep at night because I was
That's
afraid I
what
was
I
going to
mean.
sleep through it.
Yeah,
know?
you gotta wake up, and that's the hard part of getting up at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm not. What am I doing up at this hour? Yeah.
So that was bad. So they shifted it to 2, and I guess the 2 o'clock seems to be a little better for people.
And you gotta stay awake.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can watch videos. You can watch your phone. There's Wi-Fi. People do their work at night. If a lot of people are working from home,
Right.
so they can work from home and do their work from 2 to 7, and then go home and sleep for a while.
But,
Yeah.
but still, it's not a hard job, but it's not, you're not gonna get paid.
No, but I have learned that some companies actually pay their employees to volunteer.
Oh,
So this is something new we're just looking into, but we have a lady that works at Microsoft, and Microsoft pays her for her volunteer hours, and then will pay us what they pay her for the volunteer hours. So if she
Oh.
works like 6 hours, she can make $150, and then they will donate that same money back to us.
that's fantastic.
And a lot of companies are doing this now. I didn't realize that, so.
We gotta talk about that. You've got a lot of companies that, within the valley here that support your efforts, right?
Yeah, so, if they have some kind of a match program, whether it's donation match, volunteer match.
You wanna name some of them?
So the one, Microsoft is the one that we were signing up for. I don't know of any other, like if Unibank has a match type of system. or-
Unibank does donate to you.
They do, they're very, very supportive. We love Unibank, and they've been very faithful to
And you
us.
say that the nursing home donated,
Yep,
but
but-
now it's a new owner.
correct.
They still,
We haven't approached the new owner yet, but Wiersma Insurance has been very faithful to us.
Was it?
Wiersma Insurance,
oh,
Gaudet
where's my
Insurance.
God, that?
All the businesses along Church Street, the Green
Oh.
Plate, she's always been very faithful to us. I'm trying to think, Milford Federal, Webster First,
Oh.
yeah, we've got lots of people that are,
Now, you go out and solicit from them, or they voluntarily,
I knock.
yeah. You put in a tremendous amount of time.
Well, the whole board does. I have an incredible board, and it's really grown, like, we've become an entity. We're an official 501c3. We have a board.
This all started from when you saw that woman,
Yeah.
you put that board together and everything else.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it started off with just the people of the church, that each church that we had, they were all representative of the churches. But now we have really active.
Now, being a
wonderful-
501c3, people can donate to you and take a tax write-off.
Yep, they can.
Why don't we let people know how, if anybody's interested? how
Sure,
they
it's,
would-
our website is B like in boy, V like in victory, emergency, shelter.org. And everything really is there. There's how to donate, how to volunteer. We talk about all the different things we're doing. We're going to the Blackstone Valley Expo. We're gonna be there.
Oh, you're gonna have a booth at the expo?
Yes, some anonymous donor gave us a
Well,
booth.
yeah, Jeannie works that out. If you're a nonprofit, you can get a booth at the Expo.
Yep. So she worked that out, and so now we're going to be down there, and hopefully Dunkin' Donuts is going to donate some Dunkin' Donuts coffee to our site, and we'll be able
Oh.
to give that out. So that'll be
Right.
come see us, and you get free coffee.
Yeah,
That'll
I'll be
fun.
there because we have a WCRN booth.
Oh, we'll be right next to each other, maybe. You
Yeah.
get free coffee all day long.
Yeah. Yeah, I told the station manager, get some other people down here because I don't want to be the only guy. So I can take a break and walk around.
Yep. The legislators will be there, and
Yes, you have a whole row of the legislators.
So it'll be a good time. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
This is important now. You're a big part of the valley.
Well, you know, we didn't really put two and two together until Christine Johnson has been working really closely with us. She's amazing. She's on the board now.
Oh,
And,
okay.
yeah.
She's another one. She's into everything.
She's a blessing. And so we were talking, so we did the research, and we're the only homeless shelter in all of the 13 towns in the Blackstone Valley.
Wow.
Yeah, the only other shelter that's close is in Milford at Pathways, and they're not officially in the Blackstone Valley.
No, they're not.
So, and they're on the other side, they're at a church on the other side of Milford. And so when I finally figured out how the system worked, they had a group in Milford that was putting it together. So I went over there and explained to them and kind of worked through it with them. So they're a mimic of us. We call them like a sister shelter. But we work really closely and see if they're going to be open, if we're going to be open, so that, you know, one of us can.
Yes, you work together on.
Yeah,
on
like
that.
in tandem, you know, so they have
Yeah.
their own volunteers, we have our own volunteers.
Right, but if you got people in need, you can send them
Yes,
to Milford.
yes, and both police departments have been very good about, you know, if there's an instance where they have somebody and you know, Pathways isn't open, the Milford police will drive them over to us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's worked out really well. And I guess I would envision hopefully someday that every town would have a shelter like ours, right?
Yes.
You just don't know. And again, it's not all people that are living in the woods or whatever. You know, we have instances of domestic violence where the police need to get somebody out of the house, and where do you
Right.
take them?
Yeah.
You know, they have nowhere to go.
That's a lot more common than people realize.
Yep,
A mother and her children have to get out of the house because the fathers are being brutal.
So we've had that situation before, and they're in a safe place, and you know, nobody really knows where it is. So, yeah, that's worked out really well.
How does someone get a hold of you if they have a homeless, if someone has, I'm not someone homeless necessarily going to be watching this, but who knows, some have computers, we're on the line, we're on the internet, so.
So it's 508-266-5122 is our phone number, and every night we have volunteers that are phone volunteers. These are wonderful people that have given up their nights to be on the phone. So from 4 to 9, they're on the phone.
Do you have an actual location where they're at?
No, we do, it's all by Google.
Oh,
So,
okay.
So we have a Google phone system, so what happens is you call that 5122 number.
And it brings on a number of whoever's
and
on
it
duty.
brings on duty, yeah.
Oh, okay, at their home, actually.
Yep, they just can be at home doing their thing, and
Oh,
they
it
can
brings
answer
on their cell
questions.
phone.
Yep. And then they can text and they can email through that Google phone. It's really
Oh,
worked out
okay.
well.
Then you line them up to go to the shelter.
Yeah, we just tell them, like, if they call and they say, you know, like, unfortunately tonight it's really warm, so we're not open tonight, you know, but they still might call and say, you know, I've got a situation, or what else can you do? The other thing that we did 2 years ago was we applied for a grant through, it's called Chenal 6, it's through the Milford Hospital System. And we got a grant for over $40,000 to pay for a homelessness navigator.
Oh,
And
wow.
one of the things that we learned was, you know, you can help somebody for a night. You know,
Yep.
you give them a shelter, they get warm, they go home, and then they leave at 7 o'clock, and then what, right?
Yeah, now they're back on the street.
Right. And so what we figured out was that they really need somebody that can help them navigate the systems, because there are systems in place to help people. You know,
Yes.
lots of money out there. And we just said, how do you get to the money? Like, who do you call? What do you need? You know, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff that's,
These people have a problem already, and they don't know what to do.
exactly. So we hired, her name is Jessica Mello. We hired her 2 years ago, and she's our homelessness navigator. So she works with other supportive services in the valley. She works with all of the police departments. and then she works with the individuals, and then kind of tries to help them get through the system, and then
Oh,
you know.
this is a lot bigger than I ever thought of. I didn't realize all this was going on.
Oh, there's even more. We can keep going.
No, this is great. I didn't realize he's doing so much.
Yeah, and it's a group of people, like I said, in the whole valley that have really wrapped their heads and hearts around these people. So
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is amazing. I know there were encampments all over town. I've heard of them.
yeah.
In some cases, people that's what they prefer.
Yes, we've had gentlemen, I'm sure everybody remembers the guy about 2 years ago. He used to walk up and down Route 122. Yep. And
Yeah.
we got in touch with him. We were really close with what he was doing. He did not want any help. I think I was telling you the story how people would go down, they'd go to Piece of Bread and they'd get a meal for him. And
Yeah.
they'd take the meal down to Dunkin' Donuts, and he'd be in there with his Bible or whatever he was reading. And they'd go in, give him the meal, he'd talk to him for a little while, talk about whatever, and they'd go and they'd feel really good because they helped him. And he would take the meal up to the Dunkin' Donuts counter and go, "Here, kid, you can have this."
Yeah.
He just really did not want.
No, I mean, I know people tried to buy him a coffee or something at Cumberland Farms, and he would say, no, I don't want it.
No, he didn't. And there was a gentleman that was buying him like Timberland boots and,
Yes.
really nice clothing to get him through. And so he left him, he just left him by the door at Cumberland Farms. And the people at Cumberland Farms are so sweet. They're like, we'll leave him there, they'll just stay there. And one day he did come in and get the boots. He didn't say anything to anybody, but he just came and took the boots and went on his way.
He couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't.
Well, if it gets cold enough,
He does,
everybody
yeah.
has their points, right?
Yeah, he was sleeping out on some pretty darn cold nights.
Yeah, I used to wear the cape, and then he'd have the
Yes.
tarp and the stick, and he
And he
moved.
disappeared. This is like he came in, he disappeared again.
Yeah, he went to Auburn, so
Oh.
the police followed him, and then we got in touch, and then he went to Auburn, and then I'm not really sure if he went out to the western part of the state after that. I lost track of him. Yeah, I think he went in Franklin, Attleboro, Northbridge, Auburn, and then I don't know if he's working his way west.
Kind of like a Johnny Appleseed,
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
making his way through.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
And
amazing.
an interesting story about those guys that are out in the cold all that time. We had another guy by the name of Mike, and he lived out in the woods and did not want to come in. And one night it was one of those, okay, you can't live through this kind of night. And he
Right.
came in at St. Pat's, and he was good. He was talking about us. We were like, how do you keep warm? And he was saying, you sleep a couple hours, then you get up and you move and you're walking, and you can't sleep eight straight hours, which is, again, sleep deprivation.
Oh, yeah.
And so he said, but that's what you do. You just sleep a little bit, get up a little bit, move around, and then your body warms up, and then you can go back to sleep for a little while. So anyway, he went to bed. We had lights out at 10 o'clock, and I think it was around 10, maybe 12 or 1 o'clock. He got up, and he just said, I got to go. And we were like, no, it's really cold out now. And he said, it's too painful for me to be in here. And we're like, what do you mean? Like, are we weird? Like, what's the problem? He said, no. He said, my hands are starting to swell. My skin's cracking. Because he was heating up. His body was expanding, and it was too painful.
He was
fact-
so used to living in the outdoors.
Yeah. He said it was better for him to be outside. It was too painful to be warm.
That's unbelievable. I know if you get a good sleeping bag, you can handle the outdoors.
Yeah. We've had a couple of instances where, somebody's living in a car, and like on a night like tonight, they may not be able to have a shelter, but we'll do what we can to try and keep them warm.
Right.
So, yeah, there's all
But
sorts
that's
of...
another thing now. You do clothing collecting, right?
Okay, can I tell you about our new project?
Yes. I want to get into that. I think that's
So,
important.
I guess it was about a month or so ago, I was at a Unibank board meeting, and I was with my good friend Sue, and I was saying to her, just in general, we have to find some way to keep a consistent amount of money coming in. We do these 2 fundraisers a year, and they're very successful, but it's like you have money, then you don't, and then you
Yeah.
have money and you don't. And I said, I've watched Abby's house, and I've watched some other homeless organizations, and they all seem to have thrift shops. And she looked at me, she goes, I could do that. And I'm like, you could? And so she took the ball and we ran with it. And she goes to the Episcopal Church, Trinity Episcopal Church.
Yeah.
And she went to their board, or whatever I don't know what it's called. But anyway, the people in charge. And they have this back educational
I
building.
see their sign on Linwood Ave.
Yes. So now we're going to have a thrift shop in that building to the side of the Trinity Church.
Oh,
They
okay.
gave us all the rooms
Yeah,
in
they
there.
have a sign, clothing
That's
collecting.
us.
Ah,
Yeah, so we have a clothing collection for textile recycling. So if it's like blankets or stuff that you really don't want,
Right.
just stick them in there because we get paid by the pound. If it's nice stuff that you want, we could sell, you can donate it to the thrift shop. And then we also have an online store, so if it's really high end, we can sell it online.
Oh.
And people will pay for it online. I'm shipping to California these clothes that people have donated to us.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
The thing is, too, I mean, as your kids get older, they outgrow the clothes. You got no use for them.
No,
Donate them.
we'll take them.
Yeah.
And it's right now, like this week, well, the week I don't know when we're going to be on, but we're open from 10 to 3. They're taking donations, and then the recycling bin is out there 24/7. You can just pull up and put clothing in there. So
And that makes a lot more sense than throwing me in the rubbish.
oh, don't. Yeah, I mean, so the recycling company, what they do is they go through it themselves,
Right.
pick out anything that's good, and then if it's not good, they turn it into textile recycling. So they just
Right.
rip it up into rags. But they also send things that are off season to different parts of the country or the world. So maybe you had some leftover stuff from summer that you didn't really want. Well, that would really work great down in Bangladesh.
Yes.
So they'll ship it over there. So we're helping them help people, and then we're helping us, and everything that we sell at the thrift shop supports the shelter.
Yeah, you watch TV and you'll see some of these people walking around with these T-shirts on. Well, that's
Yeah,
that
that's
got
from us.
donated through that system.
Yep, that's the system.
You know what else happens? When they have the Super Bowl, you see the winning team comes out all of a sudden with their new T-shirts.
Yeah,
and
there's the other guys that
Well,
lost.
the other guy, they had them for both teams. The ones that lost, they ship them to another nation.
Which makes no sense when they see them on there, but yes.
Right.
Yep, yeah.
Because they obviously can't use them now.
It's really amazing. I mean, I didn't know about that, but I worked with the girl who was the representative there, and it was a wonderful story. And, they were able to, they donated the shed, they worked with the Episcopal Church. It's right
Yeah.
behind the church, and you just can drive up and put your stuff in there.
And like I said, that makes a lot more sense.
Well, and you're helping 3 ways,
Yeah,
right?
helping in more than one way. And like you say, even if it's not usable, you can at least get some credit for it. You buy the pound.
Right. So it's working out really well. So our goal is, our grand opening is going to be April 1st. And fingers crossed that the town embraces it. And
What about toys and things like that?
we're trying to do just clothing for right now.
That's a problem because they're dumping them all over town.
Yeah, and we can't do, that doesn't do us any good.
I know.
So, and there are other places, I think there's a store up in Millbury that will do toys and things like that for free. They open up for free and you can go in and take toys, and
Oh.
I don't remember the name of the store, but that's their gift, and that's
I know
what they do.
mattresses you can't touch now because they're considered hazardous material.
Yeah.
And my nephew's in the rubbish business. He has to deal with it.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, they have to chew them up.
It's really expensive too, to
Yeah.
have them taken
Yeah,
away.
because they're considered hazardous material, partly because of bed bugs.
Oh, yuck, I didn't even think about that,
Yeah. So, and you wouldn't believe it how many times bed bugs are spreading around the town that people don't realize.
Oh, yeah, that's an epidemic on its own,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you could, it'd be nice if you could take some of that stuff and use them in your shelter, but you can't.
Yeah, and we really want to stick with the clothing.
Yeah.
Clothing, shoes, purses, accessories, small, unique.
Well, you need to use something like cots anyway, so you can pick them up and fold them and put them on the side, right?
So it's a totally different, so it's not the shelter. So the shelter is at St. Pat's.
Yeah.
over at the Catholic Church, and then this is at the Episcopal Church.
Right.
So we don't have, they're gonna just let us have that, and
But
it's not,
I'm saying you can't use a donation of furniture or anything like that.
no, no, but Mendon, there's the Mendon Blessing Barn, that they can take furniture.
Oh.
There's the Restore Place up in Worcester, you can donate furniture there.
Salvation Army, I think, will take it too.
Yeah, is that in Worcester though? They
They're
they
in
close-
Worcester, but you can call them, they have,
Oh, they'll come
have a
pick it
truck
up.
that'll come around.
Yeah, yes, that'll work out good. Yeah.
Because, actually, people can buy stuff there.
Well, in the Salvation Army program, we work with them. Jessica has worked out a deal with the, I guess the sergeant of Salvation Army. So she's a coordinator for some of the gift cards and other things
Oh.
that they give out. And then they also have this really cool project where you can join the Salvation Army. Like one of our guests could sign up, and then they
Oh,
could
okay.
work for the Salvation Army, and then they get free lodging. And it's a program that they do.
Oh,
And I'm always a big advocate of recommending for people that are lost and you just don't know how to get out of where you are.
yes, exactly. I mean, it's like going down a tunnel and you keep going deeper and deeper.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what the Salvation Army does, is basically they stop the fall.
Yes.
They give you, you're not making big money, but, you know, in exchange for your work, you're getting
But
room.
yes, they'll give you, you'll get to eat, you'll get a place to stay.
Yep, yeah, it works out really well. And they work you through it. So I know people who've graduated from that program, and they're now helping other people, and social workers and things like that.
Ah,
Yeah, so there's a lot going on.
yeah. I mean, but you've come a long way from that
Yeah, from that
That's
drive
nice,
up Hill Street.
cold night driving up Hill Street.
Well, you know, when you get hit with a frying pan, sometimes it
Did you
pushes
find
you
out who
ahead.
that woman was and helped her
I
out?
did, actually. I saw her at Piece of Bread, so I used to volunteer. I work in Worcester now, so I can't be at Piece of Bread when I want to be, but I saw her at Piece of Bread, and she was very thankful. She was one of our first guests in the shelter, and then she was able to get herself settled and be able to get an apartment. And
Oh, yeah, so
And there
she's no longer
she's
homeless.
working at Piece of Bread. She's not
Oh.
there as a guest. She's there working.
Oh,
So
she volunteered there.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah. So it
See,
comes back
That's
around.
good, that she's paying back for what, she got help, now she's paying back.
Yeah, we've had. I love our success stories, because we had one girl. She and her significant other were living under the bridge on 122, as you go over the railroad tracks. They were underneath that bridge.
Oh,
That's where they
over in
were.
Rockdale here?
No, it was down, not Linwood, before you get to Linwood, like where the old.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was the Charles Ampagumian Bridge.
Yes. So
Yeah.
they were living underneath there.
Oh.
And then they occasionally would come into the shelter, and when they would come in, he wasn't quite on the up and up. He wasn't good for her. But she was very young and was kind of just following along. And we really worked very closely, got to know her pretty well. She ended up distancing herself from him, and then she got a job at Shaw's.
Oh,
And then she ended up, becoming a part of a roommate system where there were a bunch of them living in an apartment. And then she ended up moving to Maine, and now she's a nurse.
oh, wow.
I know, it's like, yay, another
Yeah,
success story.
that's a nice success story.
And I keep in touch with her on Facebook, so it's like, I
Oh.
still get to see what she's doing, and,
Yes, you keep in touch with a lot of the people that you've helped?
yeah.
So it's not just helping them out for a couple of nights, you really continue on.
Well, that's why we needed that navigator position, because
Yeah.
that was the part that left you so empty, right? You meet these people, you hear their stories, they're spending a time with you. We had people, Helen, her and her husband, they used to come down and play games with the guests between 7 and 9 before they had to go to bed. And they just, they were just, you couldn't tell who was a guest and who wasn't, It was just being in like somebody's living room.
Yeah.
And it was just really sweet. But then, you put them, they go to bed, they wake up the next morning. And I did have one volunteer that said, I cannot work the 7 o'clock morning shift. I don't care. I can't do it, because she would leave crying.
Oh.
Because you're telling these people, just go back out there and fend for yourself again.
Yeah, because you have no facility to feed them.
No, we don't do the feeding. We don't do food. No, St. Pat's does the John 21 program, and Presbyterian Church does the Piece of Bread program. So we were trying to be open on those nights for sure, because they could get a warm meal at Piece of Bread, then come over to the shelter and sleep. And then same on Friday nights, they could sleep at Friday nights and then get a warm meal in the morning and not have to go right out into the cold.
But you do try to help them out with McDonald coupons?
We do a gift card program, and
Yeah.
we try to give them $5 or $10. And I will tell you, I'm very excited. Peg's Diner gave us, we bought gift cards for them to go down and get a breakfast. So if they stayed at the shelter, they could all walk down to Peg's. And he said, sure, I don't, every customer is a paying customer, so that's fine. And so they
Yeah.
get a great breakfast down at Peg's and then be on their way.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
the community center is so supportive. They did a mitten and hat drive recently last month.
Oh,
And then they give us shower cards so people can go and take a shower, which is really important.
At the community center.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. You really realize that, how I take a shower every morning. That's great. I love doing that. It wakes me up.
Mhm.
But you imagine it not being able to have that opportunity? God.
Well, and a lot of times too, they'll say like, okay, I've stayed overnight, I've got a good night's sleep, I've got a breakfast or something to eat. I really do want to go to an interview.
Yep.
Well, you don't look like you need to go to an interview. You need to go down and get a
That's the other
shower.
thing, yes. How
know?
can you get a job if you can't even get yourself looking decent?
Right. So that's part of what it is, and we've helped lots of different people and different places, and we're just trying to do what we can to keep it going.
And some are from town originally, and a lot of them are from out of town, right?
Well, the weird thing, so I always say, if you were homeless, why would you be homeless in New England
Yeah,
in the
I know.
winter? Why would you do that? But a lot of these people have ties to Northbridge. They might have family. We had a lady that had a mother that was living in elder care, so she couldn't have anybody living with her. But she was close enough, her mom was driving her around town, drove her to the shelter at night. She couldn't stay in the apartment, the mom would lose the apartment, because they have requirements, you
Yes.
can't. So, she had supportive services that, that her mom was here and people that she knew. A lot of people, grew up here and, that's just the only thing they know.
Well, the thing is, how do you get south?
Well, I bused people south and they came back.
Really?
Yes. We had two guys. It was starting to get cold. They were living in the park, and my friend was walking and praying, and these two guys walked up and said, "Is there anything you can do for me?" And he said, "I don't know, but let me call my friend Leslie." So I said, where could they go? Like, do they have anything they could do? Like, and then one guy said, "I have a sister in Florida." I'm like, "Well, call her and see if she'll take you. I'll
Yeah.
get you there if you can spend the winter in Florida
Oh, yeah.
versus, the town square." And we worked it all out. We paid for their bus tickets off. I followed them. I knew where they were ticket-wise. You can follow them, Greyhound bus, and I found out where they got there. And then they came back.
In the winter, too.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So you do what you can do. I don't feel like that was a waste. I think it was, it worked. They stayed for a little while, and whatever attracts them back up here, whatever it is, I can't figure that part out. But
Well,
mine is not to judge. Mine's just to help when I can. So
I know people actually that moved to Florida, and then before they die, they moved back. Because it's just this is where you started, this is where your ties are.
yeah.
So, I mean, I can understand where they're probably coming from.
Yeah, and if you went to high school here, this is where all of your
Yeah.
memories are. This is where
Yeah.
your family is.
Or anybody you know.
It's just so cold here.
I know.
It's like,
Oh.
really? Just go to Florida in the winter, come back up with us, So
I mean, and be outside, not just in the cold, but when it snows or when we had this freezing rain. Oh, God. I mean, you're going to wake up coated with it.
Well, and I'm no fun to be around because, like, when I am out and about and I'll be, at Shaw's or somewhere, and some people are like, "Oh, it's so cold outside," and I'm always like, "Can you picture yourself sleeping in this?"
Yeah.
Because it's cold for us.
Having
running
nowhere to
from
get warm.
Yep. I'm not fun to be around when that happens. So,
I mean, sit in your house and watch that snow come down and think about there's somebody out there that can't get out of it.
yeah, and they are pretty creative. We've had lots of families that have been living in cars. You know, when I worked over at Piece of Bread, there was a family that would come in and we would load up their van with food because they literally had 3 kids in the back seat and they were driving from neighborhood to neighborhood. The dad would drive at night, drive into a neighborhood.
Here again, the car's not cheap to have either.
No, we do. So part of the gift card program that we do, I'm sorry, I got distracted.
No, it's all right.
But we do buy gas cards as well.
Ah.
So at certain gas stations, you can get just a specific gas card. So if somebody is in a car and that's what they're using for their shelter, we can help them with the gas.
Yeah, because that's how they heat themselves, keep
Yep.
themselves warm.
Right. And even if it's, like we had one guy that was he had a broken down truck and we were trying desperately. St. Vincent de Paul was another organization we were working with.
Oh, yes.
And they were paying for the repair and we were trying to get him so that he could, get himself straight to get going. And, think about car repairs,
Oh, yeah. Car repairs, the cost of gas,
insurance.
insurance,
Yep.
excise tax, everything.
Yep, there's a lot
And
to
in
it.
some cases, without that vehicle, they can't get a job.
Right.
Because you got to get to work.
And that was the big problem when we had the people staying at the Red Roof Inn. We had some people that had jobs, but the Red Roof Inn is like I used to call Gilligan's Island. You get there and you can't get out. Like there's
Yeah.
nowhere to go. There was an accident where somebody was walking up to Tony's Pizza and got hit.
I heard about
You know,
that, yes.
To get to a grocery store, you got to cross 5-6 lanes of traffic.
Yes.
Going to Market 32. It's just, it was good for us, but it wasn't the optimum. And
Right.
one of the things that in my dreams is I'd love to be able to open like a guest house, not a hotel, and not a homeless shelter per se, but a place where somebody who really wants to get out of where they are and is willing to commit to following the rules and getting a job and doing all that stuff. They have a place over in Southbridge called St. Luke's Guest House. And
Yes, I've heard of it.
it's 6 or 8 people. They've all been screened. You can't just, it's not just anybody. You have to show that you're really willing to do it. You have to commit to going out during the day, whether it's volunteering, working on your GED, or getting a job. You have to pay something towards being there. And you only stay there for like 60, 90 days. And then in the meantime, you have caseworkers and people that are right in your face going, so what'd you do today? How'd it go today?
Uh-huh.
No fooling around, no friends over. It's not like a place that's homey, but it's
Right,
a place
right.
that you can call home.
You got to toe the line and be trying to make yourself better.
Yes, exactly. So that would be my dream, is if we could find a place, because there's so many people that just need that.
You could find an empty 3-decker or something like that, right?
If you know one, you let me know.
Yeah. I'll tell you, right now, the situation is where they're getting so much for rent that they're a good investment.
They are, yeah. So whatever is next, we raise our money and we do our fundraisers, and we're gonna do our new one. It's next Saturday already, March 8th. We're gonna do our fundraiser over at Blissful.
Oh.
So
You ought to talk to the town manager. He'd probably get mad at me saying, they have situations where they take properties for tax purpose. Perhaps they didn't pay the taxes on them. And that place is abandoned. It may need some work,
I'm willing to work.
but you might get a grant to help to fix it up too.
Yep, I'm in. You find me the spot, we're in.
Talk to the town, talk to Adam.
Okay. I'm gonna say Harry told me to
Yeah,
come over here.
what can he say to me?
He'll be like, Harry, what'd you do?
No, I know they have one right now that was abandoned on Quaker Street.
Oh, really?
Not abandoned, but taken for tax reasons.
Mhm.
And the town doesn't want it because what are they gonna do with it?
Right. Yeah, and I like the house that's in Southbridge. It's a 2-decker. There's the living room. There's no social room. They have kitchens on both floors, but there's no living room or place to hang out. There's no TV.
Yep.
Everybody has a room, and they're gone during the day. You can't
Yep.
stay there. You have to go and figure life out with a little support. you know, and it's a place where they can jump off and get a job.
Yeah,
And
he can connect it with the other town managers too.
oh man, could you imagine if every town in the valley had one of those homes that they could just have people?
That's something to look at.
Yeah.
We're talking about a new senior center where the elementary school used to be.
Yep, yeah, I just saw that.
But they're also talking about putting senior housing in,
Oh, really?
because that's a problem there too.
Where are they gonna put the housing, at where the
In the
primary
back.
school? Oh, wow, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah,
That'd be
and
great.
we're also got a project going on in Linwood, private, but that's gonna involve some affordable housing.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah,
Well, keep me in mind
condo style.
when you're talking to all these guys. Keep me in mind.
Yeah. I mean, we need some affordable housing. We've got the over 55 bylaw, and in that bylaw, I was on a planning board when we wrote that bylaw. One of the things we put in there was that they would do 10% affordable. The problem we ran into is no one will handle it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the housing authority don't want anything to do it. You know, you have to have somebody manage the affordable ones.
Oh,
Because, you know, you can't just give it to anybody, they have to apply, and they have to show that they meet the financial requirements to get the affordable.
right.
And because we couldn't get anybody to handle it, we told them, well, go ahead and make them all whatever price you get.
Oh,
But then you
wow.
have to compensate the town back,
Oh,
what difference in what you would have made.
mm-hmm.
That's how we ended up with the park,
Oh, really?
yeah. The pocket park,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what paid for it, $50,000.
Wow.
And new sidewalks,
It was beautiful.
but that's because they couldn't come up with affordable.
Oh,
They couldn't come up with someone to run it. They don't wanna do it.
right.
They
So
wanna
it's
sell
easier to
it.
just pay the money and,
Yeah, they develop the area and they sell it and they move on.
wow.
See, so, but I don't know how, if you could do, if your organization could handle that.
I don't know, that, again,
You may not want to because
give us a
that's,
challenge, you never know. We have
Right.
people that work for me that are really into,
that you would have to talk to Gary Bechtold about,
all right, I'm gonna write all these names down.
yeah, town
Yeah.
planner.
Harry told me to
Yeah.
come over too. They're all gonna be going, what did you do? You stirred up a hornet's nest here.
But he was gonna be involved with the project that's going on in Linwood, and he might be able to help you out with that.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Yeah. So are you gonna be able to come to our fundraiser next Saturday?
Not really,
No,
unfortunately.
but
But
that's our big one. So we do 2 fundraisers a
that's what
year.
we're gonna talk about, we haven't even short time. Yeah, we almost forgot, you got a fundraiser coming up.
Yeah, so it's
Very
Saturday.
important, where people, next Saturday, it's a tasting,
Yeah, we changed it up. So it always has been in the past a wine and chocolate tasting.
right,
And this year we changed it up and we're making it a tasting. So we've got breweries, we have people who are distilleries, and then we have wineries that are coming.
oh, wow.
And then we have one cider works that's coming too. So
Oh,
there's 9 vendors that are coming. And then, so those vendors will be there, and there's no limit on what you can have, like there's no, you can only get 3 or whatever. And then there's gonna be food and raffles and auctions and. it's
at
gonna-
Blissful Meadows.
It's at Blissful Meadows, starts at 7 o'clock.
Up at Chocolate Road.
Yes, yep. And we've never been snowed out or rained out or anything weathered before, so.
No, this weekend's supposed to be fairly nice.
Perfect, that's
Yeah.
good. And it's $40 a ticket.
Yeah,
And we have some incredible auction stuff. We've got a vacation down on the South Shore for 4 nights.
oh, wow,
We've got Red Sox tickets. We've got Adirondack chairs made by Blackstone Valley.
Yes.
Votech made 2 Adirondack chairs. We have a round of golf by Blissful themselves. And then we have a one-night, we call it a Maine Escape. So it's up in Maine, and then it's a whale watch, and then a duck tour. So
Oh.
that's the auctions, and then the raffles are all over the place. Every business in
this
town
is
has.
quite an event.
Yeah, this is our 20th year.
Wow, 20,
Yeah. So I used to do it for the Uxbridge, when it was the Uxbridge Rotary. I was the president of the Uxbridge Rotary.
oh, okay.
And then the membership down there kind of waned a little bit, and since I was president there, I said, well, you know what, the shelter could take it over, and we could do it.
How long you been doing the shelters now?
8 years.
8? Time flies, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, yes, too fast.
That's when your son was in high school. Now he must be,
26.
yeah, he's graduated from college and everything else, right?
He has, yeah.
Yeah.
Got a real job.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Time just flies by.
Yeah, it does. But, you know, every year we just have more and more things that have been put in front of us to do and try, and that's how it's gotten so big. And like I said, out of 13 towns, we're the only town
Yeah, I know.
that has a shelter, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad, because in the other towns, there's some that are even larger.
Yep. But, you know, we don't mind being the only one. And what we're doing, we have what's called a police partnership program, where we have
Right.
8 of the 13 police departments partner with us. So, you know, they're coming and they're supporting us. We're supporting them with gift cards. And we give them a solution when they do find somebody at night that's homeless. They can bring them to the shelter.
And real quick, I don't want to get political, but these are not illegal aliens we're talking about.
These are our friends and neighbors.
These are the people that are friends and neighbors of ours that we grew up with, and we probably went to school with. So we're not talking.
And we don't, I mean, we're not discriminating against anybody. I mean, the people that were coming into the United States were supported. We had a lot of people, there were 60 some odd families that were up in the Red Roof Inn while we were paying for our people to be up there. So they were being supported by other organizations, so.
Well, the state takes better care of them than it does the homeless.
Don't get me started here. We can't do it.
I know. Well, it aggravates the hell out of me.
Well, and that's why we're here, because and that's why I said the communities are embracing what we're doing, because
Right.
we need to take care of our own, and somebody needs to help them. So that's our motto, is help somebody hope, because really what they need is to know that there's somebody behind them that wants to give them some hope and help them. That's
Yes.
really what they need to know, that they're not really out there alone. There's a whole community that's back there rooting for them.
Yes, the community you grew up in.
That's right, that's right. It's a
And
beautiful
that's what
community, and
that's-
it has a wonderful heart, a wonderful
Yeah.
heart.
That's the point. Like I said earlier, these are the people that we grew up with. They're from the community. They're from, maybe they're not from Northbridge itself, but they have ties here. That's why they're here.
That's true. You're right on. Yep.
When I ran the Scouts, when I was involved with Scouts, we had a couple of kids that were living in a car.
Oh, really? Oh.
And we didn't know, because they didn't tell you. When we found out, we did what we could for them, but
Yeah.
people don't come around asking.
No, one last story though. Back when the Salvation Army used to be down on Linwood, or on 122, I knew Lois, who was the manager, and she called me up one day and she said, "Leslie, you got to help me out. I got people living in the dumpster." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "No." She goes, "I went in to pull clothing out, and there were candles lit. They were using candles to stay warm, and it was a mom and 2 teenage kids."
Oh my God.
And she had a car. She would go into the dumpster. They would use the clothing as insulation against the dumpster, and they'd light a candle, which I just, anyway. And then she'd get up in the morning. They'd figure out what clothes they could wear, and then she'd drive them to high school, over at the Northbridge High School.
Listen, we gotta run.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
for coming
much.
in.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
letting me blab about my stuff.
Okay, and we'll see you next week. Our guest next week is gonna be the senior games, talking about the 80-year-olds that run.
Awesome.